Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to SJU. I'm Joe. That's Dan, Spencer, Billy. It's Tuesday. We were pre-taped yesterday. We're back in the studio today. And we'll just jump into it. Stan Lee died yesterday at 95. I'm going to sort of just read through some obit stuff and some basic information, and then we're just going to talk a little bit about Stan the Man Lee. Stan Lee, legendary writer, editor, and publisher of Marvel Comics, has died. He was 95 years old. Lee, who began in the business in 1939 and created or co-created Black Panther, Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Mighty Thor, Iron Man, the Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk, Daredevil, and Ant-Man, and Barbed Wire, among countless other characters. I think it's important too. Died early Monday morning at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, a family representative told The Hollywood Reporter. On his own and through his work with frequent artist-writer collaborators Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and others, Lee catapulted Marvel from a tiny venture into the world's #1 publisher of comic books and later a multimedia giant. His way of doing things at Marvel was to brainstorm a story with an artist, then write a synopsis. After the artist drew the story panels, Lee filled in the word bubbles and captions. The process became known as the Marvel method. I used to think what I did was not very important, he told the Chicago Tribune in April 2014. People are building bridges and engaging in medical research, and here I was doing stories about fictional people who do extraordinary, crazy things and wear costumes. But I suppose I've come to realize that entertainment is not easily dismissed. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who, look at the list and then sort of connecting the list to the quote. This is a man who's responsible for most of our modern American mythology. Really, this is a guy who is responsible for teaching a generation of kids their morals, the difference between right and wrong. So, hopefully at some point he saw that, entertainment is not easily dismissed, nor was his contribution to it, because you can't really say enough about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he famously said a story without a message is like a man without a soul. Mm-hmm. So he has been, he was a living legend before he passed, and he's just always been like larger than life to me. So it hasn't quite processed that he's gone. God, I mean, he's like Steve Jobs. He's like these icons that you need people like Stan to just be the avatar of everything we love, and to just be the person that we all look to see where it's been and where it's going. And I don't know what we do now.
Yeah, no, a lot of people, younger folks who have just gotten into Marvel movies know him mostly from cameos. Mm-hmm. I think our cameos for Stan were probably Stan Lee's soapbox.
Well, mine was the first one I remember was the cartoons, the older cartoons.
Right.
Hello, true believers, Stan Lee. It's just like that. I remember he would always say the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. So that's where I knew him. I knew him as a voice. And then transitioning to the comics, Stan's soapbox and the little, always the picture with the glasses and everything.
It was like the first Funko Pop design, like with the big Stan Lee head and the small body. Yeah.
And then from there, the cameos were kind of the last way that I knew Stan Lee. But now I think a lot of people, that's where they know him from, is the cameos in all the Marvel films and stuff. But I think that was where really, I mean, behind the scenes, so much collaboration and so many different moving pieces and but the fact that he was able to put a face to an entire brand of comic books that wasn't a superhero so that Marvel became a brand because it had a face and it had a name and it had a personality that was leading it in a way that I don't think another label really has ever had. I mean, there have been artists and writers that have been stars at different times in labels' histories, but like to have the face of an entire series of comic books, like that was such a brilliant marketing move, because all of a sudden they're not just these loosely associated titles like, oh, Marvel, yeah, Stan Lee, oh yeah, all those. That's so like kind of a brilliant strategy, and he was the perfect person to do it. I mean, he had the charisma, the energy, the charm. You liked him. You just liked him. You'd hear his voice, you'd see his face, and you just liked the guy. And I think that was, so not just a brilliant creative mind, but a brilliant marketing mind. I don't think we've seen in that area before or since.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer, you mentioned Steve Jobs. It's the similar thing. That's the guy you associate with Apple, and that's a big part of why Marvel took shape and stepped forward. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but he wasn't an asshole.
Yes, yes, yeah. He was just a sweet, kind dude. I know a lot of people were sharing stories about how if he was on a red carpet or something like that, he'd always make sure to come back and make time and say hi, take pictures, introduce himself. Just an all-around good dude. Billy, I know you did a lot of con stuff.
Yeah, I knew Stan Lee probably different than a majority of people, just because the Comic-Con family is a weird fraternity of carnies, really. We're just circus. We were circus folk traveling around putting on shows, and once you get over the shell shock or the being starstruck by these people, you realize like you and the celebrities and the artists, you are like the sane circle in this massive tornado of just like craziness. So yeah, the first time I met Stan Lee, I was very starstruck, but then, you know, as you get to know him and it becomes, he's just a part of your con family. When I heard this news yesterday, I was very sad, thinking about all like the memories that I had. Some of them really great. Like I shared one on Twitter where I wrote this promo for him to do for one of the shows, and he was like, "Who wrote this?" And I was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "I did." He's like, "This is very funny. This is very good." And I was like, if the bomb dropped right then, it would have been all right. Some other funny stories. I think I've told this one before. In photo ops, so you know the celebrity sits there and you go and you get to take a picture and you walk out. It had been a really long day for Stan, and in hindsight, I don't know if we should have pushed him, or he pushed himself a lot too to do a lot because he wanted to meet all his fans. But there was it was towards the end of the day, and this woman comes up very angry to photo ops, and she's like, "I took my photo with Stan Lee and I want to redo." And I'm like, he already left. She's like, "He's asleep." And what happened was he wore his glasses, and the flash had caught the glasses, and he's just passed out in the chair with a big smile on his face.
Pay extra for that.
Yeah. And we were like, this is the greatest photo of a
best thing in
lifetime.
the
Yeah, you can't plan something that great. But to that point, when I heard this news, I was very sad. But there's a part of me that also was happy, that was kind of relieved with everything that had been going on in the last year of his life. I feel like, you know, in hindsight, looking back, which is always 2020, you kind of saw some of those things. You saw some of those people.
His management taking
and
that's the ugly side of it.
And you kind of just like, okay, maybe you know, either I'm busy or maybe this is just I don't know the full picture or whatever. But I'm just like that photo op. It's time for him to rest. You know.
Yeah, and he certainly was. One of the things I admire the most about him is just his sheer persistence throughout his entire life, because Marvel taking over pop culture the way it did is like his third or fourth attempt to get it onto television and film and to like break it out of comic books and into other mediums, and he never gave it up, and then he conquered the world, not on his first try, but after like decades of work.
Yeah, no, that's a really solid point.
And he seemed to be, I read the book behind the making of the X-Men animated series, and they were talking about how in the beginning Stan came in and he was very stringent about what he wanted, and it was not the right thing for the show. It's like, I want to narrate it, and I want to do a thing at the beginning of every episode where I introduce it, and mutants, and you know, and they were like, this is not what we're going for. This is really not what we want to do with the show. And they said that like he was resistant to a point, and then they finally kind of said like, no, this is what we're gonna do. And then once the show came out, he was just like, okay, you know, and it's like it seemed like he was very sort of, this is the way that I want things to be, but at the same time, it almost challenged creators to say, I respect you, but no, this is what we're going to do. And he you know, as long as it turned out well, it seemed like he would be supportive of that vision. So it's got to be weird to be in that position where you are seen as the head of or the face of something, but at the same time, you don't always have control over it. And to have to balance that the way that he did, you know, I'm sure, I mean, so many movies. It's just, you know, at some point, I think it just became about him as much as it was about the movies, in the sense of, like, I don't think that he was really held accountable for all the Marvel stuff at a certain point, and they're just like, well, Stan's in it, and that's great. And then we'll worry about the rest. Because there's some movies he's in that's like, whoo! But I don't think Stan ever took the brunt of that, because it's like, he's like the patriarch, in a way.
Yeah, no, he was always going to sort of show up and put a stamp on things. I think my first movie cameo for him was Mallrats.
Sure.
And like,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what gave Kevin Smith cred for me, was that Stan Lee like showed up in his movie to dodge questions about the Things package.
Yeah.
He had a great sense of humor. There was one, I call it a prank because it gave me a heart attack. There was one prank he pulled. This was, remember when everyone was doing the ice bucket challenge?
Yeah.
They were like, Stan wants to do the ice bucket challenge. I was like, he will die. Like that will kill him. And they're like, oh, he wants to do it. I was like, okay. So I'm walking around the convention center, and all of a sudden I hear on the walkie-talkies, they're like, ice is here. We're about 5 minutes away. I was like, no, this can't happen. I was on if you've ever been, I think it was Chicago, I was on the complete other side. I sprinted because I was like, I don't know who's in charge, but you were going to kill a man on stage. And I ran through the backstage curtains. They're like, 3, 2,
Oh my God.
no. And they went to pour it over his head, and then Stan pulled out a little Funko Stan Lee and put it in
Nice.
the ice. But didn't tell any of us. So I was like,
That's great.
And here you were trying to prevent elder abuse.
I was like, he will die. I was like, there's no way.
There's absolutely no way. That's amazing. You're mentioning him sort of pushing himself and always wanting to take time for people. I know we got to do an event where it felt, we were talking a little bit about this beforehand.
It's a tribute.
Yeah, it was a tribute show. I was trying to figure out how to talk about it because on one hand he was very tired and wanted to go home, and
It was
Take
running
a
late.
nap.
The show was running very long.
Yes.
Late into the night for us.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
particularly
even for
for a
us in this-
94-year-old man who was,
It was like 2 hours behind or
it
something.
was very behind.
But even with Dan, you actually reminded me of this. Even with how exhausted he was as we came up, he still knew everyone's name as they came up, and shook everybody's hand and looked them in the eye.
Strong grip.
Yeah, firm handshake.
Yeah, very
my
firm handshake.
Larry Starr would approve. Solid handshake. Professional guy, really warm person through and through.
Yeah, there are a lot of celebrities who see the fans, or would see the fans as kind of commodities, like bodies in their line to hit their guarantee. But Stan, he genuinely loved meeting fans. And so many people would be like, you changed my life. Spider-Man changed my life. This changed my life. And every time it was as if it was the first time someone had ever said that to him. And he genuinely meant it. Like, whether he was out there signing or he was just in the green room. Yeah, I think he knew the life that he had and was very appreciative of it, which was very cool.
Guys, any final thoughts on Mr. Lee before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they probably have a legacy of 2 or 3 more appearances for him. I think that's what they kind of had said, as they were starting to sort of
Bank stuff.
Yeah.
So, that'll be a very bittersweet moment, I think, in the next couple, probably, Marvel films when he shows up. But, at the same time, I think, depending on how far they planned ahead, but if the last film of what appears to be this current iteration of the MCU coming up next summer, the next Avengers movie, is also, the last Stan Lee cameo we'll get, I think that's sort of a very poetic kind of thing. It really is the end of an era for both the MCU itself and then, in a way for the fans as well.
Yeah, lived
absolutely.
a long, prolific life
Yeah.
and went out on top. Can't ask for too much more.
Yeah.
Well said. Let's awkwardly transition to talking about Detective Pikachu.
Yes, let's.
I don't know how else to get to it. There was a trailer for Detective Pikachu, a movie based on a game that did not get a U.S. release, in which Pikachu can talk to a person and is also a detective. That is the extent of my knowledge on Detective Pikachu until I saw this trailer.
Yeah.
Thoughts? It's weird, Joe. Very weird, Spencer.
I didn't play the game either, the Detective Pikachu. Gosh, man, as just a visual introduction to the world of Pokemon, I think it looks incredible.
Yep.
I don't think it works well with PG Deadpool riffing the whole time. I think that's a weird choice. I don't see how that peanut butter and tuna fish sandwich is going to go down. I just want to hang out in that world. You could do the whole movie in Japanese. Maybe it'd be better. Something about it felt like it wasn't gelling. But man, that is a movie universe I want to spend time in. You see the little Charmander, right?
Yeah.
It was a beautiful job of bringing it to screen, and then the plot of the movie about like this kid's missing father and a noir, like an LA noir Chinatown story, but they happen to have like Squirtles. I don't know. It's weird. I think I'm speaking for all of us when I say it's weird.
It was a lot to absorb.
I don't know from Pokemon, Joe. I don't know. Nothing at all.
I just know you gotta choose them.
If the goal is to get a guy like me who has zero interest in seeing a Pokemon movie, interested in seeing a Pokemon movie, then congratulations.
Okay.
Because I would go see this. I do agree that Pikachu is going to be a little distracting for me, just because it does seem very similar. But at the same time, the trailer, I love the look of the world. I'm coming at it from an outsider's perspective, so I'm sure that there are things that people that know Pokemon love about it and hate about it that I'm just completely oblivious to. But if what they want to do is to introduce it to a broader audience by changing some things or softening the edges or whatever you want to call it, it worked for me because I've had zero interest in seeing anything Pokemon related, and now I'm very interested in seeing this movie.
It's weird though, because like I don't think that the plot, quote unquote, of Pokemon is inaccessible to a broader audience. It's a sports movie. It's an underdog who rises to be on top of the animal slave fighting ring. Let's call it what it is.
Sure.
Okay, so now, as I say it out loud, I realize maybe a detective story is the better way to go. Because you are capturing animals and forcing them to fight for your own benefit. So maybe that's a good choice.
It seems a little dense and inaccessible to those of us who are not steeped in it. I think that the previous film adaptations have seemed like, I don't know what this is, and I don't think I'm going to know what's happening or what's going on, so I'm just going to not do this, where this seems very much more like this is going to be its own thing.
Come on in, folks.
Yeah.
Billy, did you buy a ticket?
There was a point in my life where I had caught them all.
Yeah.
I don't know why. This is like the one thing where I was so like disillusioned when I was like, I got them all 50 of them, and then they're like, Pokemon Jade. I was like, no, that was never part of the agreement. You never said that there was more than 50.
I'm altering the deal.
There's 151 in the
Yeah.
There's 151.
Whatever.
There's Mew.
Whatever.
You too.
So that being said, I have as much knowledge of this universe as the very first game when I played it in like 1999. This trailer looks fun. I actually watching it, seeing the visuals, I was like, this looks what I would think, like in a good way. Like this looks what I think this would look like if you made a live action. I'm surprised it took so long to make anything live action Pokemon.
I wonder if people were nervous after things like Garfield came and went. You know, other things that were like sort of that same animation style mixed with live action and maybe didn't work super well.
Pokemon has never let an opportunity to make a dollar pass by. I think
True.
they would not have worried
True.
about the believability gap of having a Pokemon and a human in the same scene.
Do you think they'll have a weird solo moment like how the Imperial March was playing in the movie? Like, will the Pokemon theme song be playing like on a radio station?
We'll see, yeah, because this is doing a lot of heavy lifting if it really is like the start of a universe. If this is the first Pokemon movie and they're trying to set up future ones.
You mean like Team Rocket, a Pokemon movie?
Yeah, or just different combinations of Pokemon and profession. This is
Like that?
Plumber Charizard.
Plumber Charizard.
Archaeologist Charmander.
OBGYN Tentacruel. They could do they could do all, 17 of these. But what was your question, Joe? I got distracted.
Pokemon question mark?
Pokemon? Yes.
Right on.
I have
Fair.
a feeling that I just have a suspicion that because I liked it, there are thousands of very angry Pokemon fans out there.
I'm sure it's
no
divided.
doubt.
I have not checked
the
the
fact that I
reaction.
like it in my head means that there are so many more people that hate it because it is accessible to me that it is now inaccessible to others who perhaps it is not there.
I don't know. Do you remember that we watched that
is not
video
my beautiful
where
house.
Pokemon or Pikachu said
Talked?
a word
Yeah.
and people were like, no! And the theaters
yeah.
is the
That is
same.
weird because
They gotta be mad, right?
semi-canonically, like, you know, that Meowth can talk in the cartoon and everyone understands him. I've never heard, and some Pokemaster will correct me, I'm sure, but the telepathic link between the Pokemon that can only talk to one human. There's ways to get Pokemon to talk or to talk to Pokemon. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do it like this. Not like this.
There are ways to get a Pokemon to talk.
Not like this.
But as I'm just processing this in my brain, maybe the detective story is right. A nice parallel could be Zootopia, where it is an investigation is what takes them from town to town, city to city, region to region to explore. Like maybe that's the pretense you need to explore a world.
Solid.
Maybe so.
Is Justice Smith, is that a Will Smith kid? Or
No. He was the lead on The Get Down on Netflix. The first season of which was rad, and you should see it. And he was great in it, and he should play Cyclops with the MCU.
But curiously,
reboots.
Will Smith does have a kid who is not Jaden or Willow, who just
Is normal.
That's what I thought. I was like, is this the Lost Smith
I don't
kid?
think so, but he's rad either way, and he should play Cyclops. Detective Pikachu, we
Jaden
did it.
Smith should play Cyclops.
No, Justice Smith should play Cyclops.
How could beams be real if our eyes aren't real? I'd watch it. It'd be better than
I didn't know there was a third Smith kid.
There is.
Yeah, that's why I thought this was the Lost Smithy.
Billy,
Alan
can you
Smith.
pretend you're at your chair and just check? Because now I feel weird.
Yeah, the chair's empty.
I won't get
I love
mad
that
if
we
you get
can
on your
now at least
phone,
cut to
is
the
what I'm
empty
going to
chair.
say.
Just JT, don't put the camera on me, and I'll Google real quick.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Meanwhile, Toy Story 4 teaser sure looked
Couple
neat.
teasers.
Oh, I watched the one that introduced the spork that got right up in the camera's face and shouted, "Oh
Mr. Bill.
boy!"
Okay, well you're not in.
yeah.
Okay,
No,
And then
We
we
lost
got
Joe?
Ducky and Bunny / Key and Peele also.
this was.
I thought it was cute. I
guys-
thought it could get at the. Although this could get in the weeds real quick of like, how does this world work?
yeah, if they're gonna get caught up in rules, it could
Where
get,
does the line
it
of
could get weird.
sentience end, and where does
Yeah.
the plastic begin?
Yeah, I Look again. I'm the guy.
Trey
Trey. Okay.
Smith.
It was
Yes,
the
yes.
just the two of us, the one at the beginning.
yes, indeed.
Got it. Okay.
That was really important.
Okay.
Thank you, Billy.
Justice.
Billy.
Justice stands on his own. Watch the Get Down. He should play
How
Cyclops.
could two people have the last name Smith
Wait a minute.
without being related?
Have you guys ever noticed that How It Should Have Ended and Honest Trailers upload at the same time every week, and multiple people are named Smith?
It's funny. I actually was at a YouTube thing yesterday, and Tina from Hishy was there. We were talking about that. She was like, when we do the same thing at the same time, do people just like ask how that happened? I was like, yes!
Yes.
She was
Why
like-
is it so hard to understand?
She was like,
That's when the movies come out on DVD.
yeah, it's just like, just look at the calendar. It's not a. She's like, I think people think it's a conspiracy. I was like, I know, right?
it's so weird to me.
It's so weird.
Oh, and there's so
Look
many.
at the calendar.
And there's so many Smiths, and his name in the
Yeah.
Matrix is Agent Smith.
You
and
could
that
convince
can't
your
be a
dumb friends that you're
coincidence.
psychic by just studying the calendar and be like, I predict on this day the honest trailer and she will be.
Yeah, you really can. Look, I'm the guy that got very angry at the Grinch. That said, have you seen the Muppets 3D at Disney?
No.
Yeah.
Yes, a few times.
You know that weird. So, in Muppets 3D, Bunsen and Beaker create the world's first digital character in a lab.
Cool.
And it's a big, goofy-looking 3D thing that looks kind of like that spork. And all it contributes throughout the movie is the Muppets will be doing something sort of entertaining and charming, and then this 3D thing will get right up in your face and be like, "Whoa, ba-dong, ba-dong, ah!" and then like, I don't know, smell its own ass and then vanish into the netherworld. And that's what that is to me. And I don't know. I was underwhelmed by Incredibles 2. Pixar sequel.
Joe,
I
you're
think it
turning
might.
into
I
such
think
a
it might be.
curmudgeon.
I think it might be a trailer joke. Number one.
Yeah, this is
Number two.
It's a bad trailer joke.
I know the characters. I love the characters. Characters are great. The story is what I'm worried about with this one. Can I come up with a good story? So I'm sort of just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like the Duck and Bunny thing was funny. I thought with Key and Peele and
Which, admittedly, I need to watch.
They're just doing the Liam Neeson sketch.
Yeah,
but
pretty
for Buzz Lightyear.
yeah.
Good.
This pleases Joe.
This really just to me was just like, hey, don't forget, Toy Story 4 is coming.
Yeah. These
Sorry,
all seem like
TBD.
building
Sure.
hype. This isn't anything
No,
about the
I
movie.
get it. I was just, my concern is the same. Like, what do you do with the Toy Story 4 movie? And when the first image I saw was the Muppet 3D thing getting in my face and being like, "Hoomba donk donk donk, I'm Poochie to the moon."
Sorry, Muppet 3D scarred you, Joe. Don't take it out on Toy Story 4.
No, that's just what it reminded me of, and it made me sad.
You know what actually did make me, I don't want to bring it down, but what did make me sad is as they were like panning across the characters, was like watching them, was like, how many of the original voice actors have died? Which is like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head and Slinky Dog, all I could think of as it got to Rex was like, my God, Wallace Shawn, please hang on. I can't lose Rex too. Like Ham's still there, luckily, and I don't know this Jim Varney who did Slinky Dog, although the guy they got to do him is really good.
He was the dad on Boy Meets World, Sean's dad.
But I think he might have died too.
Oh shit!
I got it. Billy, look that up. Billy, look that up. Cut to Billy. But that was also part of it, was just like, oh man, like Don Rickles is like, how do you do Mr. Potato Head without Don Rickles? Yeah. Like he was that character. Like so.
Maybe because
I didn't preemptively put somebody in there.
Maybe because it's a new kid, they put their new imagination into some of the toys, and now the characters have different voices.
Maybe.
And that will be crushingly sad.
I also just wonder, like, as I'm searching, what's left to do other than, like, the most somber thing, which
they
is,
wrapped
like,
it up so well.
when your toys, like, Buzz Lightyear should have, like, yellow fading on his legs and stuff, like corrosion.
Yeah.
I have a
That's
Rambo
natural.
toy
plastic.
when I was a kid, and he has a plastic body and a rubber head. And what has happened over the amount of time that Rambo's been around, that these toys have been around, is that the plastic body is still 80s orange gloss. And the head is, it looks like he's got malaria. It's just like, it's a pale yellowish white. And I don't want to see this happen to our beloved toys.
Are you saying you wanted the Logan of Toy Story?
Yeah, we don't want the Logan of Toy Stories. They've shocked us being the haters for two movies already. They've earned another shot until we find otherwise.
You know what,
Guys,
Spencer? You're right.
Good news. He's 73, but still alive.
Thank God.
Great.
Thank God.
All right.
I'm so
Blake
sorry
Clark.
I'm so sorry
Still
that
hanging
I
on.
preemptively tried to kill off another Slinky Dog.
Hey
Slash
guys,
Sean's dad on.
speaking of
He's already dead in that show.
speaking of trying to figure out who's gonna survive or not, Game of Thrones is coming back.
Chicken, mashed potatoes, broccoli. That's from not R.I.P. Still strong Smosh sketch that they did it once for singing chicken, mashed potatoes, broccoli to the Game of Thrones intro, and it has stuck in my head the entire
Forever.
time. Yeah.
That's good internet. HBO announced Tuesday that the Mega Hits 8th and final season will premiere in April 2019. That's 20 months after the show's 7th season wrapped in August 2017. Season 8 will run for 6 episodes, one fewer than season 7.
This isn't even news. This is just math.
It's math. Which I learned playing Number Munchers in elementary school.
Good game.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, man.
Where's that
Look
film
like little fry
universe?
guy things. Yeah.
Word munchers? They can
Yeah.
munch anything.
Yeah, God. They could,
I think I have seen some.
they could cross over with Mavis Beacon teaching typing.
Yeah.
It'll be great. What the final run lacks in number, however, it may make up for in running time. Individual episodes could run as long as 90 minutes. The April
Great.
premiere date will also make Game of Thrones eligible for the 2019 Emmys. Season 7 took home 9 awards, including the honor for Outstanding Drama Series. The final season will feature a lean directing team of veteran throne helmers David Nutter.
Yeah, Nutter.
The Red Wedding episode of Reigns of Castamere, and Michael
Sapochnik.
Miguel Sapochnik, thank you.
That episode was amazing.
Hard Home's awesome, as well as creators David Benioff and Dan Weiss, who are directing the finale. It is said that the final season will feature one episode that is wall-to-wall action. I love that term. Containing the biggest battle sequence in series history.
Wow.
That'll be big.
Yeah.
As for the final notes of the story, A Song of Ice and Fire, author George R.R. Martin has long promised the tale will end on a bittersweet note. That bittersweet note being that he'll never finish the books.
No, it was sad. He gave an interview pretty recently about just like the pressures getting to him. He's like, I'm very cognizant of the fact that like people think this is the greatest thing of all time, and that is influencing me every time I sit down to write, which
That's frustrating.
sucks.
That's
That's
gotta
not
be
good.
impossible.
Maybe they just do the show. Maybe the show can be it.
Yeah.
Is that blasphemy?
I mean,
I guess it's too divergent.
He's come
at this
so
point.
far.
He has.
Yeah.
But he's got, what, 2 left?
This one and then one more.
But at this pace,
Yeah. Right.
our replacements will be sitting here talking about the last Game of Thrones books at this pace.
Well, they won't be sitting here.
Well, they're
Yeah.
No, a lawyer or something
I guess we
will
should
be
talk
sitting
off
here.
camera. I guess we still have the studio temporarily.
Yeah.
We'll
for
talk
now.
after this.
Cool.
We have
Can
options.
hearing that Game of Thrones is going to be eligible for the Emmys, I'm very happy for them.
Yes.
If I may ask one humble request,
Yeah.
please do not spin a short-form variety series off of Game of Thrones because we'll stand less of a chance than we ever did if
Gaming
we should get
the
nominated
Thrones.
again.
Yeah.
Like please don't do like a
Well,
Game of Thrones
we've lost to
karaoke.
Game of Thrones didn't win either, but they've been in our category a few
Game of
times.
Thrones, yes, but that's as close to Game of Thrones as I want to see in our category.
I want to see Game of Thrones win.
Yes.
I do not want to see HBO presents.
A behind the scenes look at the visual effects of
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
But it's got to be like sketchy. So I don't want to see like, you know, if they do karaoke, we're all sunk. Forever.
Chicken, mashed potatoes, broccoli.
If Dinklage and everyone else does that, and we're doomed. We're never gonna win.
It'll just be a show that's like Kit Harington pausing to breathe between takes, and just like being like, "Cut." And then, and then that'll
And
get
the Emmy
nominated.
goes to-
And the Emmy goes
No
too.
sour grapes here.
I just want Game of Thrones to win an Emmy.
Yeah.
I'd love for Game of Thrones. I
Yeah.
want to make it very clear. Game of Thrones Emmy, good.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones Emmy, come on, give someone else a chance.
Game of Thrones. Hot take. Game of Thrones may be better than Game of Thrones.
That's all right. You're getting a little spicy here. No, it's too early for that.
It is too early for spice here at SJU. Guys, that's our show. Feel solid about it?
Oh yeah.
1 through 10. Give me a rating.
Oh,
just for the whole show.
Rate my show.
Yeah.
8.5.
Solid.
Yeah, it had some poignancy. It had some fun,
Yeah.
some lightness.
Yeah. I appreciate your feedback. I
yeah.
always do. Billy?
I was a 10.
Yeah, no, Billy,
Yeah.
always,
As always.
absolutely,
He's always a 10.
always a 10, which I will always agree with because you're taking me to Survivor Series.
yeah.
Dan?
I'll give us a 7.9. Always room to grow.
Yeah, no, and that's what I appreciate
but don't
about
take
you
away
creatively.
anything
Yeah.
bad from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Guys, make sure to rate us in the comments.
Make sure to rate us in the comments.
Yeah.
out of 10.
Charting later today?
I think so.
We think so.
I think I'm just gonna do it.
Just do it, man.
We were gone yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a holiday weekend here in the U.S. and Venom made so much money over the weekend in China. I think I have to.
Yeah, I think you
I've
do
got
too.
to.
I'm empowering you. Guys,
you.
charting coming later today. Check out the Honest Trailer and the Honest Trailer commentaries for The Meg. And we'll see you in the morning.